Good morning, fellow Hoops fans. Welcome back to another episode of the Last Shot NBA show right here on Little Birdie TV. As always, brought to you by our great mates over there at topsport.com.au. Now, it's Wednesday morning. We've got a bumper show for you guys today. We're going to be joined by old mate Andrew Parkinson as well. But first, let me welcome, he's a very good friend of mine. He's a New York Post sports anchor as well as SNY TV, all around great guy. His only fault is that he's a Liverpool fan. Let's welcome Dexter Henry.
What's up, Andrew? I didn't know that was my only fault. I had enough pain recently with Liverpool, but thank you, Nick. I appreciate the kind welcome.
Listen, man, if pain is losing the Premier League title by 1 point and losing a Champions League final, man, as an Arsenal fan, I'll take that any day of the week.
You'll take that pain. I hear you, man.
I will. All right, and let's also welcome our resident expert, basketball expert, Mr. Andrew Parkinson. Parky, how are you, mate?
I'm very well on this first day of winter, and we're in June now, so that means one thing, NBA Finals.
NBA Finals, you are absolutely correct, Parky. We've got a lot to talk about today, so let's just get straight into it. Obviously, now we know the NBA Finals are set. It's the Boston Celtics, Golden State Warriors. Let's talk a little bit about the Boston Celtics because if we look back to, mid-December, early January, in December, this team was below 500. Even in January, they were sitting 11th in the Eastern Conference. What a season turnaround it's been for them. Dex, what have you made of the Boston Celtics so far?
Yeah, well, the first thing when you look at their season turnaround, Nick, it was the defense, right? They were middling to almost a near bottom the first couple of months of the season, and then the defense really took off, and you saw that cohesion with the defense. Now, when it came to about February, late February, mid-March, I was starting to say, well, wow, this looks like there's something here with this defense. They can switch everything. They're so aggressive. How would this translate to the playoffs? I don't think anybody foresaw this to the finals. Although I will give credit to one person, Gary Washburn of the Boston Globe. He had told me on my show he thought the team could make it to the finals. So I'll give him credit on that. But I didn't see it. And, I just thought this was a team coming together. But you have to give him credit for this, Nick. We heard all the talk prior to this. Oh, you got to break up Jason Tatum. You got to move Jaylen Brown. You guys heard this as well, too. And they've had the continuity. They bought into Ime Udoka's system. And they made some good moves at the deadline, getting Derek White. So I liked what they've done, but I think it's a great lesson for us to learn around the NBA that sometimes it's just about sticking the course, sticking with the culture you have and getting the most out of your guys and the voice you have. And I think the Celtics, clearly, they've been able to do that getting to the finals.
Sorry, I thought Parky had a question for you.
I was just going to say Dexter's right. At the start at pre-season, the Celtics were actually 50-1 to win the NBA championship. So if they manage to pull this off, they're only 4 wins away. They'll be the biggest long shot to win the NBA chip in 35 years. So no one expected this at the start of the season, and then when they were halfway through the season, they were 20-21, which is just below 500. So they had a great second half to the season, obviously, and they've done well in the playoffs. They've been road warriors. I think they've gone 7-2 in the playoffs away, and I think that'll make them 5-4 at home. So they really became, as Dexter said, their defense, and they were really good road warriors. And no one expected it. No one expected it preseason. No one expected it halfway through the season, and now here we are. They're in the NBA Finals.
Dex, let me ask you, you did mention Coach Ime Udoka. When they were going through those struggles, like I said, below 500 December, even in January, 11th in the East, as a first-year head coach, looking back on it now, I know I was wrong. But at the time, I was questioning whether Ime Udoka, as a first-year coach, was the right man to get this team back to where it needed to be. But he has done an absolutely incredible job. And like you said, that defense has come together from that point on. And it's probably the best, or if not the second best defense in the league. Just what are your thoughts on the job that Ime Udoka has done so far?
Oh, I think it's tremendous. And I don't think, Nick, that you were crazy to think that. I know it was a short period of time, but I think in the beginning of the season, that was where we heard the comment from Marcus Smart about, Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown needed to share the ball more. And I was wondering, I was sitting back, guys, like, wait, is there going to be some division here? Is Ime going to be able to have control of this locker room? But clearly that wasn't a problem. And I think why that wasn't a problem, I don't want to take any credit away from Ime, but I think a lot of it had to do with Marcus Smart and what he did there. Marcus Smart being able to speak up, being an extension of the coach, saying what the standard was going to be in terms of defense and sharing the ball. And credit to Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown. They bought in. Clearly, these guys have bought in. This is the best we've seen Jason Tatum look defensively. That guy's a lot of credit has to go to Ime Udoka on this. He's become a better playmaker, which is something Ime Udoka talked about early on in the season with him. And we really saw that in Game 7 against the Heat. He didn't force a lot of shots. He was setting up the other guy, even had a ton of hockey assists there. So I really liked what I saw from him. But Ime Udoka, deserves all the credit in the world, guys. He's done a tremendous job. You got to think about it. He's coming into this situation. Everybody called Brad Stevens a genius. We heard it all the time here in the States. Brad Stevens is a genius, but he hadn't won anything, and he hadn't got them to the finals. And you now are asking this guy to take this group, this young core, and get him over the top. And he's done that. And I mean, this is one of the better coaching jobs we've probably seen in the last 15 to 20 years in the NBA. If you really think about it, it's a tremendous coaching job. You could say he had talent, but he had to get them to buy in and get them over the top and then stick with it. And the mental fortitude. And you mentioned, Andrew, the road wins. That's a tremendous point there, because the fortitude to win some of those games, Game 6 in Milwaukee, Game 7 in Miami, even no disrespect, the games that they had to win in Brooklyn on the road to close out that series. It's a tremendous job.
Yeah, no, you're spot on there, Dexter. And you gave credit to Coach Udoka, who he obviously deserves. But how's it going to go? I think a lot of talk is about the Celtics and how they don't sort of close teams out. So, they've always sort of let Miami back into it a bit. The same with the Bucks series as well. But how do you see the NBA Finals playing out with the Warriors? How do you see them, handling those guys?
Yeah. So you make a great point about them not being able to close out, because if you're a Celtics fan, you had to be frustrated with Game 7. It was almost as if they stopped playing offense, guys. They just got very stagnant. They went away from what they did. And I think that is a concern with the Celtics. How I see this playing out, Andrew, I like this to be a long series. I think it'll go 6 or 7. But if I had to pick, I'm picking the Warriors in 6. Because while I like the Celtics defense, I don't think they've seen any offense as good with the cutting, the movement, the pace that we've seen from the Warriors. And I think the Warriors are they're hungry. I think they really understand what it means to get back on the stage for an aging group. They know this could be one of their last chances, if not their last chance. And I think they find a way to get this done. But I can see the Celtics taking at least 2 games. I don't think they're going to be scared. I do think the rest that Golden State's getting here is important for them. And the Celtics could have got 3 more days of rest had they won Game 6 against the Heat. But I do think the Warriors, I think, are just going to prove to be too much in the end in terms of offensive versatility. The one thing that concerns me, I will say, with the Warriors is how they will match up with the Celtics in terms of size and how the Celtics actually play. Will they play big? Will they play a lot of minutes with Horford and Robert Williams, that is, on the floor? Will we see that? And how do they adjust to the Warriors offense, which a lot of it is based on, movement, cutting, brilliant passing. And so we'll see how they're able to adjust with size. But right now I'm going with the Warriors at 6.
One more question. I just want to quickly ask you about the Celtics before we move on and talk a little bit about Jimmy Butler. When we look at this Celtics season as a whole, win or lose the NBA Finals, given where they started, that middle part of the season, and obviously how they've finished it, can we safely say that, even if they lose the NBA Finals, this season's been a success for the Boston Celtics?
Oh yeah. It's definitely a success for the Celtics. I think if you take the most diehard, irrational Celtics fan and you gave them truth serum, I think they would say, no, I didn't think the Celtics would be in this position. And look, they've been knocking on the door for a while, this core. They've been to, their 4th conference finals that they'd just been to, and they finally broke through. So, sometimes some of those teams were young. So I think this is huge success for this franchise. Look, they're a storied franchise. And Nick, I know what you're asking there, because everything about Celtics or the Lakers is about the championships. But I still think it's success for them to get to the stage, for Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, Even if they lose, I think it's an experience that they can learn from. I think there's a lot of things they could have learned from this playoff run, but even if they lose to the Warriors, I think it's something they could learn from, and it should fuel the hunger for them to get back and do more if they do lose. But I don't think it's crazy to think that the Celtics can win this as well too. That's something I will say. I think it's an interesting series in terms of matchups, how they play it, and maybe them not being afraid in the moment will matter for something too. I know I'm giving a lot of value to Golden State's experience, but who knows? Maybe sometimes it's just you get the right team that doesn't give a damn and they're really hungry and they come out on top. So, the Celtics are dangerous here. They absolutely are.
Yeah. Sorry, Nick. Yeah,
no, go ahead, Parky.
Yeah, no, I was just going to say, as Dexter, we're talking a lot about the Celtics and obviously, and they're in the NBA Finals. But what would have happened if Jimmy Butler's three would have gone down and things might have been a bit different? So my question to you, Dexter, is, I know hindsight's, it's a lot easier in hindsight, but
right.
What did you think about that shot with 16.6 seconds to go, 2 down? He pulled up, he tried to do a Larry Bird and roll the dice and go for the win. What do you think about that last shot?
So in the moment, Andrew, I said, I shouldn't have took it. And I still feel that way because you weren't going to get a better opportunity than you had with him on the right side of the floor. And the primary defender in front of him was Al. It was Al Horford, right? Al Horford's the primary defender in front of him. And I was like, attack him. I wonder in the back of Jimmy's mind, you talked about it, pulling a Larry Bird, Andrew, and trying to be the hero there and hit that shot. But I wonder how much of that with him was, I've been playing so many minutes. He played all of that game. He played, what did he play? 46 of the 48 minutes in game 6?
Yeah.
Yep,
and we know he had been, how much was it again?
Yeah, no, you're right. It was about 40. That was a game he had. Yeah, 40,
yeah, I think it was about 40. I think it was about 46 of those minutes. Yeah,
I think Spo gave him a couple minutes break.
Rest, right? And then he's playing all the minutes in game 7. And so I'm thinking about the fatigue. I'm thinking about the injuries he's been dealing with in this series. And he probably was just like, look, I'm exhausted. I don't trust these other guys to score. I'm going to take this home. And I understand what his thinking was in that. I don't think it was the right basketball play. I think he should have attacked Horford, put pressure on Horford. He had him backpedaling. Miami had all the momentum there. I think you want to put pressure and also put pressure on the officials to potentially make a call there. And Jimmy Butler, I think the other thing that critics may have on that shot is that's not really his game. I think he only took 2 pull-up transition threes in the entire NBA Finals, and that was one of them. They both were in game 7, actually. Yeah. He hit one, obviously missed the other. Yeah. But, I didn't think it was a quality shot for him, but I also understand probably due to the fatigue and the way offense had gone for Miami in the series, why he took it.
Yeah, to that point, Dex, I was actually having a conversation with a friend of the show, Corey Homicide Williams, yesterday, and he said the exact same
Corey.
thing.
Okay.
You know Corey, yeah.
Yeah,
so he said the exact same thing. He was like, he goes, Jimmy was just tired. He was like, listen, I haven't got any more energy to go into an overtime. We're either winning this or we're going home. And Jimmy, after the game, he had a quote. He said, look, I missed the shot, but I'm taking the shot, So I get that sort of mentality that he had. And then obviously Coach Eric Spoelstra kind of backed up Jimmy Butler as well. He said, I love that about Jimmy. It was the right look. As it was leaving his hand, I thought for sure that was going down. Good, clean look. It's definitely better than anything we could have designed. I don't know about that part of the quote, but I like the fact that he's backing his guy.
Let me ask you this, Nick. Do you feel like he should have taken a timeout? Because I don't feel Spoelstra should have taken a timeout. I actually was fine with him not taking a timeout there. What do you think?
Me too, because you take a timeout, you obviously let the opposition team set up their defense, and prepare for. So I'm actually kind of a fan of like just letting it roll and letting it rock and going that way.
My question is, did they actually have a timeout left? Because remember, Kyle Lowry burnt one when he was on the floor. Did they actually have a timeout left?
Right, they were down to 1, and I don't remember exactly, Andrew. I want to say yes. Because
I remember thinking, watching the game live, it didn't look like they had that option. Because I do remember Jeff Van Gundy on the commentary saying, "Oh, you don't call that time. That's a waste of a timeout. They could have used that." So I'm not quite sure if they had one left. But either way, like, as Nick said, the coach. And Jimmy's the sort of guy that he only focuses on what his coach says and and that's what's great about Jimmy. And his coach actually said, as Nick just told us, that he probably couldn't have designed a play to get him that open. Even if they did have a timeout, which we're not quite sure on. So, yeah, it's a very it's a tough one there. But it is ironic that Jimmy was trying to do a Larry Bird, and if he'd actually made that shot and they'd won, I reckon he would have won the Larry Bird award for the best player in the Eastern Conference Finals. But of course, JT. It was nice that the Celtics. It was nice that the Celtic guy got it, for the first year.
Listen,
it was.
I was just going to say, Dex, you're a Knicks fan. I'm a Knicks fan. Look, I've got no horse in this NBA Finals, but it's fuck Boston.
I know a lot of other Knicks fans and a lot of other people who feel that way. I have a friend who's a Lakers fan, and there's no way he's rooting for Boston in these finals. It's not happening.
Not if you're a Lakers fan, because they both got 17 titles. Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
17.
Yeah.
So, no, the Lakers fans aren't happy at all. They won 33 games, and now the Celtics, looking like they can get their 18th and really separate them from the pack.
Mm-hmm.
All right, guys, let's talk a little bit more about this NBA Finals matchup because it should be good. Look, you can probably make a legitimate case for either one of these teams to win the NBA championship. I want to ask you guys your thoughts on what probably the key matchup you guys think is going to be in this series. For me personally, I think it's going to be that, Steph Curry versus Marcus Smart, obviously the defensive player of the year. Steph Curry, look, he's looking to win a championship. He's not looking to win a finals MVP, but if he happens to win a finals MVP, I know he'll be very happy with that as well. So he's going to be looking to have a big series. This is probably the first series since that 2015 championship where he's the main guy. Obviously, KD won those 2 finals MVPs later on when he was on the squad. That's going to be the key matchup for me. Dex, what are you seeing from this in terms of key matchups to watch?
Yeah, I think that's one of the key matchups to watch. The other one for me is how I tried to talk about this before a little bit about how the Warriors play and how the Celtics play with bigs. Can Robert Williams be a menace inside in terms of rebounding, shot blocking? And do we see some of this same strong play that we saw from Kevon Looney towards the end of the Memphis series and into the Dallas series, where he was a menace on the offensive glass? Do we see that? I think how the bigs play are going to be very interesting here. The other matchup I'd watch is, whoever Wiggins ends up guarding, right? Is he going to be on Tatum a lot? Is he going to be on Brown sometimes? I think you'll see a good amount of him on Tatum. How does that work? In the last series, Tatum didn't really have somebody with the length of Wiggins or maybe the defensive prowess on him other than Butler for some periods. So, how is that going to work? And that should be interesting because I think you'll see Draymond thrown at him sometimes. I think you'll see Wiggins, and the Warriors have some good guys on the perimeter. Clay, not what he used to be, but they have some bodies they could throw at him. So I think watching those two things, how the bigs play for one, either against each other when one isn't on the floor, and then how Wiggins and who he's guarding, particularly against Tatum, how that works.
Yeah, no, there's a lot of great matchups, but I'm pretty sure that the Smart and Curry one's getting a lot of attention at the moment. And there's been some advanced stats come out that when Marcus Smart is the closest defender to Steph, he only shoots at 29% from the field.
Wow.
So that's interesting. But for me, and my question, I guess, to you, Nick or Dexter, the Celtics, we know the sort of defense they play. They switch everything. So it's not like all the Warriors have to do to shake off Marcus Smart on Steph is to run a few, run him off a few screens, get him on an on ball, and the Celtics are going to switch it as well. So it's going to be interesting. But I'm also with you too, Dexter, as far as who's going to play on JT. Is it going to be Wiggins? Yep. Yeah, and then Brown's an issue as well. You got to worry about. So what do you think with the Celtics switching defense? Is it going to be, it's not going to necessarily be Marcus Smart on Steph Curry the whole time, and it's not going to be Wiggins on JT the whole time. They're going to be switch, and that's what's made the Celtics a great defensive team because they can switch, 1 through 5.
Yeah, but here's my thing, Andrew, is they're going to be the Celtics. I mean, in terms of they're going to be tested like they never have before because while they do switch everything, this is a team in the Warriors that almost nobody stops moving. I mean, nobody plays like that. I mean, we know Steph never stops moving, but there's always guys moving. You got to look for the back cut. Draymond's such a brilliant passer in what he does at the point forward. So this is really going to test this Celtics defense. And I think that's one of the things I'm most excited to watch in the series is exactly what you're talking about, how that switching defense goes to this read and react constant movement offense of the Warriors. And it's going to be a really good test for the Celtics because they haven't really played an offense this dynamic through the playoffs. The Bucks obviously were without Middleton there, and I wouldn't call them a dynamic offense. The Nets, they had two dynamic players, but the offense left a lot to be desired. And then the Heat, they were not a good offensive team at all. And I'm not doing anything to take credit away from the Celtics. I think they're a fantastic defensive team, and they've done things they needed to do. I just want to see what they do against this level of offensive fluidity that we see with the Warriors. But on the other hand, the Warriors have not seen a switching defense as good as the Celtics, right? So it's like, when both of these things clash, who comes out on top? That's the thing that's very interesting to me. I kind of lean towards trusting the Warriors offense more because there's a lot of discipline in that. And the guys trust each other in a constant motion. And there's a lot of guys in the system that know that it's worked. So even when things break down, they trust that it works. Now, one of the things I will say that I think is going to be very interesting is what Boston cannot do is they cannot have what happened at the end of Game 7, where they got stagnant. If they're stagnant like that, we saw how Miami came back, and that's Miami, a team that's not a good offensive team. Imagine Warriors, who are a good offensive team, and you give them those kind of opportunities, those empty possessions over and over and over. They're going to make you pay. And that's a team that can turn something like that into a 20-0, 20-2 run. And before you know it, you've been blitzed and you don't know what happened to you. And I don't want to say the game is over, but you're in a world of trouble. And so that's something the Celtics have to be cautious about. With the Warriors are going to have to value every possession because the Warriors are a team that can still come back on you very quickly. We've seen what they've done in the third quarter. So I don't even know, but I'm going to bet on the Warriors offense to come out on top here. In that matchup, Andrew, because I think that's the most fascinating thing I'm looking forward to watching in this series is what happens with that. You got a great switching defense against a tremendous motion offense. What happens there? I'm intrigued to see.
Dex, with all that being said, let me ask you in that case, what's going to be your who or what I should say will be the X factor for either team this series?
Mm-hmm. For me, the X factor for the Celtics is really going to be Robert Williams to me. How he's able to stay on the floor, how he's able to play, how consistent. He did not look good. I don't know if his injury was bothering him again. He didn't look great to me at the end of the Miami series. You look at some of the numbers, I think he only had 3 rebounds in Game 7. He wasn't as active. And then what do the Warriors do when he's on the floor? Do they try to pull him a lot away from the basket, engage him in high pick and roll action? We know that the Warriors don't do a lot of pick and roll with Steph heavily at the top of the key, but do they change something different with that? And do we see some more of that to pull Robert Williams away? I think he's the X factor for the Celtics. I think for the Warriors, the X factor is Klay Thompson. What do they get out of him? How consistently do they get out of him? We've seen flashes of Klay in the playoff, right, guys? He's been up for a little bit. We've seen some 20-point games. Obviously, he had a huge Game 5 against the Mavericks. If he is on, I don't think he needs to be a major scorer, but if he's consistently around 20 points, can hit some big shots, can get things started for the Warriors and be a consistent player around there, then I think he's a huge X factor for them. If he plays consistently in the series, I think the Warriors can be very dangerous.
Yep, I agree. Have I got time for one more question for Dexter?
Yeah, of course. Go for it.
Yeah. No, I don't want to keep banging on about the way the Celtics sort of don't close out games because they.
Yeah.
But with 3.5 minutes to go in that Game 7, they're 13 points up, and they just looked like rabble for that last 3.5 minutes. Now, a lot of people have been talking about Jason Tatum needs to have the ball. So I think Marcus Smart shot. He took most of the shots, I think, in that last 3.5 minutes. The Heat did a great job on Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum. But do you think Jason Tatum in these games, if it gets to that point where you've got to close out a game, does he need to be a bit more aggressive, demand the ball, maybe just get it into his hands and play off him rather than have Marcus Smart and others sort of shoot questionable shots?
I trust Marcus Smart, but I understand that criticism. I think for me, the more important thing when I see Tatum is he making the right decisions when he gets the ball. So I can live if he doesn't have the ball in his hands, if the double comes and he's giving it up. And he's going to see that. He saw that against Miami. He's going to see that against the Warriors. Now, the Warriors, I think they can't, what's going to be, I think, easier for him in this series. The Warriors can't blitz Tatum and defend him the way that they did Luka. And so that's going to be interesting, right? Just by the sheer fact of the supporting cast is better for the Celtics for Tatum than it is for Luka. I love Luka, but they can't defend him the same way. So I actually think there's more chances, Andrew, in late game situations for Tatum to cook a little more, for him to do things that looks like themselves. I do agree with you. At some point, Tatum has to say, look, give me the ball. I'm going to make something happen, right? We can't see Marcus Smart. The other thing with him in that game, as you mentioned, he didn't shoot the ball well. He also took some really bad shots early in the shot clock. That was another thing that wasn't good. And that can't happen. And so that's something where you have to settle down. I think what I'm saying is, I think you're right to that point. He needs to be a little more aggressive, but it's about how he's aggressive. You don't want him to play hero ball and end up taking shots that aren't quality. What I really liked about Tatum in Game 7 was I thought he took a lot of quality shots, and I thought that he made a lot of great passes and took what the defense was giving him. I think if he stays to that and plays with himself, but also demands the ball to get the double team and tell his guys, stay ready. Jaylen Brown, I'm going to find you. Marcus Smart, I'm going to find you. Derek White, if you're out there, I'm going to, whomever it might be, the doubles are going to come. It's just him staying patient and making the right basketball play. But look, if the basketball's in his hands, good things should happen. That's what I'll say. Good things should happen.
All right, Dex, can we keep you for a couple more minutes? We're going to go over the betting odds for Game 1 and obviously the championship winners as well. Have you got a couple of minutes to hang around? We'll get your predictions as well. Beautiful.
Yes,
all right, let's take a look at some early odds for Game 1, which will be Friday morning here in Australia. The Golden State Warriors, $1.55 favourites. Boston Celtics, $2.47. The line's at -3.5. The over-under is at 212 even, and that one's going to be live on ESPN. We've got to go to our resident betting expert for this one here. Parky, what are you seeing from this game?
Yes, well, there's been a bit of money coming for the Warriors in this one, which is a bit different to the sort of series, the series gambling. So I think what a lot of the punters are doing out there is that they're, as Dexter mentioned earlier in the show, the Celtics have only going to have 4 days rest, whereas I think the Warriors have had like 8 days rest. So I think a lot of the gamblers out there are predicting, particularly the fact that it's at home as well. It's at Chase Center, the first 2 games. I think they're expecting the Warriors to obviously get off to a good start and win those first 2 games at home. So, and this one, it's and 212 as far as the total goes. That's a bit higher than it was that we saw in the Celtics Heat series. In fact, the Game 7 was the first time I think in the whole playoffs that the bookies had the under over below 200. And as we know, that game went 196, so it went under the 200. So, and there we go. We've got the championship odds there with the Golden State Warriors at $1.65 and the Celtics at $2.25. You could get $2.40 for the Celtics only a day or so ago. So that's what I was talking about. There's been a bit of money coming for the series for the NBA champions. There's been a bit of money coming for the Celtics, but as far as that Game 1 goes, it's looking like it's all Warriors.
It's still a little bit early to make a game prediction. Feel free, to go ahead and do it, Parky. But what's your prediction for this series?
I have to say, I'm leaning towards the Warriors. And look, the way it's going, that 3.5 could creep out to 4. So yeah, I'm to be honest, I'm probably going to jump on that Warriors -3.5 now. As far as the under over goes, I've got to do a bit more analysis on that one and crunch a few more numbers out. But no, I'm leaning towards the Warriors -3.5. And it's interesting as far as the total games go and the series odds. It's looking like it's going to go sort of 6 or 7. Well, as far as the odds are going, the most popular outcome is for the Warriors, I think, to win in 7, and most of the money's going for this series to go 6 or 7, which is great because when it gets to the NBA finals, we want to have it competitive and we want to have a lot of games to bet on. We want it to go 6 or 7 games.
I'm going to reserve my game pick for Friday morning just before tip. I am going with Warriors in 6 for the series. Dex, what's your prediction?
Prediction is Warriors in 6 for the series. I'm with Andrew on betting the game one. I think the rest will matter here. I think I like the 3.5 line. Same thing we're seeing here in the States. A lot of action on the Celtics as well too. I think some people are enticed by the money line for them in the series as well as even the game one. But I think, and this is something I said in another show I was on today, I think if you're also looking for maybe a blowout, I think game one is the one you might find one in, particularly because of the rest of the Warriors have got. So maybe you want to take an alternate line and bump that up a little bit if you feel really confident. Look, and I think if you feel, I will say this, if you're a bettor and you feel really good about the Celtics and you like this run, I mean, throw some money down. You're gonna get this. This is as good odds as you're gonna get on a team this late in the season if you think they could win the series. But it's the same thing here in the States. A lot of the money is on the series to go 6 or 7, which is good. We hope that happens. But I think the Warriors come out on top here in 6, and I like them in game 1 too. I would jump on early because I like Andrew said, I think the line potentially could go up in the next day or two. So getting that -3.5 might be good to lock that in right now.
What are your thoughts on the total points, Dexter? It's
the over under.
Yeah, what are your thoughts on that?
Total points.
Yeah. I need to pick your brain on that one. I haven't made my call on that yet.
So for me, I generally stay away from over under for the game ones because it's so unpredictable. But if somebody said, "Hey, got to put your life on the line for this one. You're betting the house," I'm inclined to probably go over here because in a game one, teams are trying to feel each other out. You're trying to see, and if you do think it's a blowout, which I think is a possibility, you do think on the Warriors end, if you do think they can put up a lot of points, and then maybe late in the game, the bench is clear and the Celtics are able to get some garbage time points. I could see that getting up over the 212, but I'm generally over under the total points is to stay away from me in game one. I usually stay away from that. Yeah.
Yep. Fair enough.
Parky, series prediction?
Series? Yeah, no, I think I'm going to go Warriors in 7. Actually.
Okay.
Yeah, no, Warriors in 7. I think you guys are Warriors in 6, but we're all sort of thinking along the same lines there. But and it's maybe a bit of hope in there as well. I'd love to see another 7-game series, and it stretches out to I think it's about the 19th of June. Yeah, well, 20th of June our time. But yeah, so we want to stretch out some NBA till at least the 19th, 20th of June. Which is when your summer starts officially. Dexter.
Yes, that's when summer starts. You guys just started winter, and then we'll be starting summer. Although it feels like summer already here, but that's a whole nother story. But yes,
we got hoodies. Yeah, Nick's got hoodies on, and you got a t-shirt on. You can tell that we're on opposite sides of the world.
Opposite sides, man. Opposite sides, opposite weather. Yeah.
But same team. We're both Team Knicks.
Yes. Team. Well, that needs to get better. But yes, we're Team Knicks, Nick. We're Team Knicks.
All right. We're going to have to let you go, Dex. We know you're a busy man. Like you said, this is the second show you've appeared on today already. So who knows if you've got a third or fourth lined up.
No. You guys are it. That is it. That is it for the day. I'm done with the basketball talk. So no more basketball talk. I'm shutting it down now.
Shutting it down. Going to spend some quality family time. All right, Dex, thank you so much for joining us, man. It's been a pleasure having you on the show.
Nick, good to see you. Andrew, good to meet you. And have me back anytime, guys. And you guys love talking hoops. You're doing a great job, and I love what you do. So I'd love to come back anytime. Thank you so much.
Thanks, you're always welcome. You're part of the family now. Parky, we're going to catch you again on Friday morning, and we're going to have a complete breakdown of that game one. Not a breakdown, a preview of those game one betting odds just before tip.
No, I look forward to that. And how good's Dexter? We could have had a show go for another half an hour at least. I want to talk basketball with Dexter for a bit longer, mate.
We'll definitely have to have Dex on again.
We've got to get him back.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, guys. This has been another episode of The Last Shot NBA show here on Little Birdie TV, brought to you by our great mates at topsport.com.au. We'll see you guys for game one Friday morning.